My name is Maggie B. Hightower. I had 27 years with RWDSU and 4 years with the Mid-South Council. When I first went to Dollar Madison, I was working part-time in the plant for about 13 days. And of course I got laid off after the 13 days. And then I was hired to work in the thrift stores. And that was located at 11th Avenue and 26th Street. And at that point, we didn't have a union, we was unorganized. And with the help of C.T. Daniel and Henry, we became organized after maybe about 6 months of working very hard. But we were very successful in getting it, but had a problem to get to that point. Before the union, when I was hired, they had different salaries for everybody. I made only $1.88 at that point, and that was in 1967. Of course, there were other people that made $2, $3, and what have you. But after getting there, and we won we were successful to become a union members. And we had salaries, well, really, it was awful. So they finally gave us retroactive back pay. And mine was more than anybody, mine and Amy's, another girl, black girl that worked in Fairfield. And of course, everybody got theirs except Amy and me. So finally, after a long, long time, I went to the plant manager and I asked him what happened to our pay. And he looked at me and said, "Maggie, what do you mean your pay?" I said, "Well, I never got mine, and everybody spent theirs about 6 months ago, so where's mine?" So he immediately got up, and he went and asked the other guy, and what happened. I think his name was Mr. Hayes. What happened to mine, and what happened to Amy's? And immediately, they went to find out what had happened, but they paid everybody else and didn't pay me and Amy. Amy and I didn't get ours. But after then, we had the most money increase because we were paid the lowest. And this was in Dollar Madison plant. Amy worked in Fairfield, and I worked at the main plant at 11th Avenue and 26th Street. Well, it was very difficult because I was the only black one they had in the plant. And when I first went there working with, not the plant, I'm sorry about that, in the thrift store, I was the only one. And of course, it was very difficult. At one point, they would stop doing the work. The women just wouldn't do their work, but I was very smart. I always kept my time sheet. I always kept whatever I did during that particular day, I kept it in my pocket. So finally one day I decided, I'm just not going to do all this work and let these women just do nothing. I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't. I decided to slow up. So they told me, we're going to call the plant, call up and tell the boss that I wasn't doing my work. Me as I was, I said, listen, be sure, go call him. Let him come down here. And they looked at me as if they were crazy. I said, oh, please call Mr. Hayes and let him come down. And of course they did. And when he came down, I had all the evidence of who had done the work. And that ended that I had no more problem with them because they knew I wasn't going to take the foolishness. And that ended that right then and there, and I got along very well with them, very well from that point on. But it took showing them that I wasn't going to take it. And as I say, I kept my own record to make sure if anything ever happened, I would have it for them. And that's what happened. My biggest success was to organize and get everybody together on one accord. That was the one most important thing of the union, was to be organized and be together. Because once you didn't have them together, you had a problem. And our second success was to have a competitive wages where we hadn't had much, we hadn't made much. Because as I say, I started off with $1.88 an hour, and which went on up to about $13, I believe, close to $13 when I quit. Just think, starting off with $1.88. And we had a lot of love with the union. We always had somebody we could depend on, not to go out there and get in trouble just to have somebody, but if we needed them, We always had someone to depend on to help us through our struggles. I didn't have, with the union, I didn't really ever have too much of a failure. I was always just about on target, and I don't think we lost too much. With Henry and C.T. Daniel, they were the one that kept us straight. And then in that way, I can't say we struggled too much hard, not really, really badly. But there were a few odd things, but not really, really major. So I think we did real well. Had it not been for the union now, it would have been terrible. But because of it, I think we really did manage it real well. We did pretty well. My most admired union leaders was Miss Lenora Miller and Mr. Alvin Heath. One of the most interesting things during the segregation and during the time that we had organized in the union was that the women of the company had a basement. We had a basement there, and that's where the locker room and the bathroom was. And they decided that after they broke down the walls, tore the walls down, that they weren't going to just let it go at that. They decided that they were going to purchase with their own money curtains to separate us, the women, the black women, and the white women. So it got back up to Mr. Hayes, who was the plant manager. And Mr. Hayes came by the office. He'd always come by and see me, and he said to me, "Maggie, I want you to go downstairs and see what they're doing down there in the latest locker room." I said, "For what, Mr. Hayes?" And he said, "I just want you to see, go down and come back and give me a report." So he sent another girl, which I was out of the office. Her name was Jackie. I don't remember Jackie's last name, but he sent her too. So I goes down to check it out, to see what it was, and I went back to give him the report. And after telling him, he went and called the fire department. He had the fire department standing out, and he went down and he took all of these curtains down, put them in a pile, and he lit a little fire to them, and then the fire department came in and put it out. And after that, he just went right back to his office. And that ended the segregation between the black women and the white ones in the locker room. He set the curtains afire, and from that point on, we all got along and made a difference. It made a difference. Had we not had the union to be right there with us, if we had needed them, it wouldn't have gone as smoothly as it did. Well, the union to me means everything. I've always loved the union, and I'll always be a part of the union. Right now, I am a part of the Retires Club. I help organize it, and this is the only thing we have now after being retired, is the Retires Club. But we come together once a month just to stay together, united. And I'd ask everybody that is a union member, or have been, to try to stay together and stay united. United together, we'll always be, but without it, we will fail. What I would tell the next generation is to organize and to be unionized. Because today, everybody's just doing away with the union. We don't need to. This is one thing we'll always need. If it wasn't for the union, my children wouldn't have the education that they have today. And I'm just so grateful that I grew up in the union. When I came to work, my husband had always been a U.S. steel worker. And I was just glad to be with him because he would come home and tell me things. And when I got a job, I was hoping that I would get one in a union shop. And of course, at first I was going to college. I was going to be an RN. But during his illness, we had 2 sons in college. And I worked so that they would get what I wanted to, but I wanted them to have needed most. But without a union today, we're being lost. Jobs are being lost. Children's education is being lost. And we just need a union. And I don't know why everybody's doing away with the union, because this is one thing we definitely need. And I'm for it 100%, and my family is too. My sons used to argue with Flowers Bakery Company. He was out working for U.S. Steel and going to college at the same time, and he'd run into Flowers, baking companies, employees, well, some of the bigger people. And they would have these big fights about what the union had done for us and what they were doing for people all over the country. And he would tell me, Mama, I don't know why people don't like unions. He said, but without them, I don't know what we would do and what many others. But a union without it, I don't know what we're going to do. And I do hope that the younger generation will see it and join up and be organized, because this is what we really need.